So what if there was a formula for control? I mean, a specific number, a kind of secret code that could let a tiny, tiny group of people influence the vast majority. Well, in this explainer, we're going to unpack a really fascinating and pretty unconventional theory from our source material that claims to have found, well, exactly that.
And it all starts with this riddle, right? It's a question that has puzzled thinkers for, well, centuries. But the source material we're looking at today, it tries to answer it with a surprisingly simple rule.
I mean, how can a tiny minority get control over the vast majority? It just seems impossible, right? But the thing is, the theory we're exploring today doesn't just, ponder this. No, it proposes a very specific, calculated technique for manipulating really complex human systems. And we're talking everything from a single office all the way up to an entire country.
And the source gives this technique a name. It's called the 2% rule. The whole idea is that there's this precise numerical threshold, a magic number, that once you cross it, you can tip the scales of power completely.
Okay, so to make this idea, which is a little abstract, feel a bit more real, the source material does something pretty clever. It frames it as a game. And by understanding the rules of this game, we can actually see the theory's logic in action.
So here's the core mechanic. The theory basically says you don't need to control everyone. You don't even need a majority. All you have to do is strategically compromise and control just 2% of the people inside any system, and with that, you can pretty much direct the outcome of the entire thing.
All right, let's actually play it out. Imagine the system is a school, say 500 people. Now, you and I, we're competing to get the best grades. Here's the twist. We can each secretly control 10 people. That's exactly 2%. So the game is simple, right? Who you pick to make sure you win. Do you go for the principal, the most popular kid in school, maybe a guidance counselor? The thing is, those 10 choices, they could decide everything.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because the rules of the game change everything. I mean, if we're taking turns picking people one by one, it's like a strategic chess match. But what if the first player gets to pick all 10 of their people at once? Wow, they could lock down the entire school administration before you even get to make a single move. Now imagine a third version, a really rigged game, where only one of us even knows we're playing. The other person, they're just a pawn, completely unaware that their whole world is being manipulated against them.
Okay, so this is where the theory gets so much bigger. It doesn't just stop with one school. No, the source argues that this very same principle scales up, and it scales up with this really powerful compounding effect.
So, remember our starting point, that 2%. That's what it takes to control one system, like our hypothetical school.
But here's the kicker. To control a whole city, you don't go after every single school. That would be inefficient. Instead, you apply the rule again. You target the most strategic 2% of the schools. Maybe, the ones where the kids of the city's most influential leaders go. You see what's happening? You're not just controlling people anymore, you're controlling 2% of the systems themselves.
And here is the crucial point. When you actually do the math, 2% of 2% is a teeny tiny fraction, just 0.04%. The source calls this the quadratic effect, and it makes this really startling claim that by controlling this minuscule percentage of a population, as long as they're strategically placed within critical systems, you could, in theory, control an entire country.
Okay, so now we get to what the source presents as the most damaging implication of this theory. Because it's not just about gaining control anymore, it's about systematically weakening a society from the inside out.
So the theory posits this conflict, really, between two different groups. On one side, you've got society's real top 2%, the innovators, the experts, the people who rise up on pure merit and really drive progress. But on the other side, you have what the theory calls the planted 2%. And these people, it claims, aren't skilled contributors at all. They're more like agents, placed inside the system. And since they can't compete on merit, well, they have only one path to get ahead.
And that path is sabotage. The source puts it really bluntly. The only way they get promoted is by eliminating the competition. They don't try to outperform their rivals. That's not the game. Instead, they use their positions to harass, to undermine, and to remove anyone truly skilled who stands in their way.
And the ultimate consequence of this, according to the theory, is just devastating. Over time, a society's most capable, most innovative people are systematically buried or just driven out completely. And they get replaced by these unskilled actors, which ends up hollowing out institutions from the inside and leads to this long-term societal decay.
So this brings this huge kind of abstract theory all the way back down to a really personal level, right? It forces us to stop and think about the systems that we're a part of every single day.
And maybe this is the theory's most unsettling claim of all. The idea that you don't even know you're playing a game. It suggests that, just like that player in the rig scenario we talked about, most of us are completely unaware of the hidden dynamics that are shaping our workplaces, our communities, and yeah, even our lives.
Now, of course, this is just a theory from our source material, but it really does offer a powerful, if unsettling, lens to view the world through. So it leaves you with a question. Think about the systems you belong to. At work, in your community, wherever. Who is just doing their job? And who, just maybe, is playing a completely different game entirely?